Hey, what's going on, everybody? Juan Cristales here. We are going to be talking foundation today because we have the pre-pour inspection tomorrow, and the guys have just basically put up the forms for the foundation with the cables and all the other stuff that goes along with it. I want to show you a few things before we get to the actual on-site, and let's just go to the foundation plan. So here's the plan that we're doing right now, the same one we just did. We're going to be doing it one more time. We got a couple of things here that I want to point out. So this is basically the foundation plan that was designed by the engineer. There's the engineer stamp all right there on the far right hand side. This is a requirement by the city of Willis. And so just a few things that we want to make sure that we supervise as the builders slash general contractors on this. Now, well, one of the things that I always point out to you guys that these cables are going to be tensioned, right? So we need to make sure the cables are pointing in the right direction. The direction of the little triangles, the arrows, that's basically the direction it goes. These ones go up, these ones go up, and then, we'll see that. But I want to point to these trenches. If you guys can see these ditches right here, you see the dotted lines right here and here that go all the way across. It's like a little grid area. Okay, because that's what we're going to see whenever we get on site. It's going to be essentially these ditches that you see right here. And the purpose of these ditches is because the engineer has decided or has, basically gotten the soil samples, and he has decided that that's going to be the area of heaviest weight. Now, it would make sense, right, that on the exterior walls, because that's where you have the weight of the wall, you have the weight of the roof, you have the weight of, the shingles, the weight of everything, the ceiling joists, the sheetrock, there's a ton of weight on these edges of the structure. And then on the interior, we have other weight that's going to be going on because we have separations of bedrooms. We have the firewall right here in the middle, and so basically the engineers designed this slab based on the plans that we're putting together, and he's decided that this is how it needs to look. All right. So at the very front there is going to be some rebar requirements, and this is what the rebar requirements just basically looks like. It says that we need to have some rebar this way, some this way, like this and like that. And once we get on site, I show you the video of what we're doing, you'll see that what it looks like. And then if you guys remember or recall from the very beginning of this project, is that this area right here is going to be a porch. And so you don't want the porch area to be flush with the slab for the simple reason that, it could cause water to go into the house, right? And so if we look at it at the very beginning, up here where we started, I just wanted to show you guys real quick. Sorry, this is kind of a big one here, but okay. So essentially that's what this is here. We want the porch area to be just slightly lower. You see how there's like a little bit of area here, just slightly lower than the entrance to the property. So that's pretty standard there, okay? Okay, so I went by the project a little bit, a few times today, but here's basically what we're looking at. One of the things I want to point out to you guys here is that you see how this sheathing here, there's like a little bit of like a tape on these edges here. So the casing, the inspector does not want the concrete to be touching any of those cables. And rightfully so, right? Because then otherwise the cable like gets stuck inside the concrete. What's the purpose of that? We want it to be fully encased so that we can actually tension the cables. Okay, so that's one of the ways we just kind of got to get that covered up. Let's move on to the next one. So the ditches have already been done, and the guys are basically covering this up, finishing it all up here. That guy's out there just kind of, doing a few small minor things. You see how the cables here are, and this was earlier in the day. This is not the finished product. I want to point that out, okay, because it's not, it's not completed. So one of the other inspectionable items is that they don't want the cable actually touching the plastic. That kind of defeats the purpose of like having a post-tension slab, right? You don't want that to be the case. So, these little area here, I told the guys, hey, make sure that the cable is completely sheathed. Let me zoom in a little bit more here so you can see. So as you can see right there, there's like cable that is exposed right there. And so what I'm trying to show is that basically the inspector is going to say, no, that's not going to pass inspection. What they want is for the cable sheathing, this plastic piece, to be all the way here, or we can just use tape like they did in some of the others and just cover it up. Very small item, nothing too crazy, but you know, the inspector will fail us for that kind of stuff. Okay. And then you know, just showing you guys here basically what that looks like. Oh, here's a small little tidbit here that I think is important for us to kind of just point out, is that if these pipes are not, you see, there's like a tiny separation there between the wall and the vent pipe here, this white PVC. And we want to have that little space there, because what happens if there is no space, the concrete will go around it, and then the pipe will be sort of sticking out like the way it did on the other one, because the concrete is going to go around it. But what we want is the concrete to also be right here for a small portion of it, so that way the pipe is hidden inside of the slab when it goes all the way up. Otherwise, what happens if this pipe is right up on that piece of wood there, then you run into the risk of like there not being any concrete, and then the pipe basically sticks out a little bit once the slab is completed. All right, so basically same thing here. Just wanted to show you guys that. Here's what I was talking about, the cables being completely covered with tape. This is, remember at the very beginning of the front of the design, I was showing you guys that there was rebar this way, there was some rebar going this way, you know, just all that stuff. That's just wanting to show you what that looks like on the inside. You don't really have to know anything much about that, but you know, the inspector is going to make sure that it just matches the plan. Now I found this issue here, and I don't know what happened. Today just happened to be a really cold day. I mean, it was like probably like 26 degrees, you know, probably colder with the wind chill. And so, man, these guys are out there working, and I was out there as well. But like at the same time, like it sucks. It really does suck having to be out there in the cold. So they skipped one. You know, it's not the end of the world here. I called the guy up. I was like, hey, man, they accidentally missed one. This one's supposed to be, excuse me, supposed to be attached here to the wood, and it wasn't. But you know, it's not a big deal. We'll get that taken care of first thing in the morning, before the inspector comes out. All right, so I'm going to walk you through the video real fast of what it looks like. Remember at the beginning I was telling you guys also that this is the area of the porch, and it's going to be a little bit lower. This is the porch area for this side. You see the porch area on the back side over here. So all of this area here is going to be completely lower than the actual slab, which you see how it meets right here. That's exactly what we want. So that's awesome. So moving along. Just want to kind of walk through the little area and show you where this guy's doing a few more things, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. You see the rebar here in the very front of the property. You can see it there at the front of the slab. All of the cables are seated on these little chairs. They call them, you know, chairs, little table things, these little black things here. None of the cable is touching the plastic, which is exactly what we want. There's no mastic. For some reason, the city of Willis does not want us to have any mastic on the pipes. I know they do that in the city of Houston, and all that means is like some petroleum stuff here that goes right at the pipe where it meets the plastic. All I did was put some tape on it because I had to cut it so that the concrete doesn't go inside of there. So everything's looking good. These guys are moved along really quickly. They did it in one day, and now the inspection's set for tomorrow morning, or tomorrow at some time. And then hopefully we can get the plumbing ground inspection completed. Now we're going to be getting two plumbing inspections done. I'm sorry, two pre-pour inspections done. We're going to get this one done by the city of Willis, which is, you know, basically the jurisdiction there that we're at. And what they're going to do is just basically, you know, give us the go ahead that we're clear to go ahead and just put the concrete in, okay? But the city of Willis has to do the pre-pour inspection. We're going to get a third party, which is the actual company. The structural engineer is going to hire a third party company to come verify the depths and measurements. So one of the other things that the city does, and let me find a spot here where we can see it well. So one of the other things that the city does is basically what they are going to measure is the depth, right? So the cable is going to be covered by 4 inches. So we have a wire, and it's not a wire, but a nylon string that's going to be coming all the way across diagonally on the property. And so what he's going to do is that at that wire, he's going to measure down to make sure that we have at least 26 inches, which is what the foundation plan calls for, right? 26 inches on the deepest. And we need to have, you know, 10 inches wide minimum. If it's more, then that just means we're going to spend a little bit more money on concrete, but that's really what he's going to be looking for. He's going to be measuring here, he's going to be measuring different places here, he's going to be measuring different places in between, just to make sure that we have all the correct measurements that are going to be required as per the engineer's plan. Now, the engineer we'll send a third-party inspector also to verify these dimensions because, you know, he's not going to get a report from the city of Willis. So it's important for me to get the city of Willis to inspect it because otherwise I can't pour concrete. But it's also important for me to get the engineer to bring somebody out to also do a pre-pour inspection because that pre-pour inspection that they do is going to provide me a letter that I can then give to the buyer whenever they buy and say, hey, look, not only do we have an engineer design the slab, we also had an engineer inspect the slab before the concrete was poured. And then we have a third inspection, which is going to be the inspection that is going to be for the tension of the cables. The tensioning of the cables is according to what they specify, and they're going to send somebody out there to ensure that they've been tensioned correctly. And then that'll be the third letter that we get from the engineer, basically saying, I designed the foundation, number one, I inspected before the concrete was poured, and then I inspected to ensure that the cables were tensioned correctly. We intend and expect this foundation to fully perform the way it was designed. So that is a very important lesson, guys, especially on the slab, especially on the foundation. We want to make sure we get this part right. And we're going to be moving on once we get the inspection passed. If there's any issues that come up, we should be able to fix them relatively quickly, and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, that is all I got for you today. I'll talk to you soon.